Hello and welcome to the Low Tox Life podcast.
The detergent breaks down the biofilm that is wrapped around most molds, okay? And that's the other thing is people need to realise if you have dust, you have mold.
Hey, welcome. I'm Alex, your host. Thrilled to have long-time listeners, new listeners here as we approach 500 shows and a decade of podcasting. Crazy to think. But when I think back on all those conversations, I've genuinely loved all of them. And low tox has always meant food, body, home, mind, caring for our planet, and of course, personal health when it's challenging, because if we're not well, it's very hard to show up and cook from scratch and serve our communities and prioritize healthy changes. It becomes really hard. So as someone who has had their health decimated by mold, which was in fact a decade ago, so I actually started podcasting when I became incredibly unwell. And when I meet fellow people who've come back from the brink of awful health challenges, showing up and trying to help as many people as they can, that is always an important story for me to bring to you. And today's guest, Jenny Smith, is an incredible woman. She has a business called the Mould Consultancy. She became ill with chronic inflammatory response syndrome, CIRS, about 12 years ago, and that gave her a massive career pivot. Now, I want to preface this show with a couple of things. Number one, Jenny is a scientist and a tradesperson with very advanced knowledge. And we do our absolute best, and I stop her every time there's an acronym so that you understand what they mean, because you might be here and not know much about anything mold related. With that in mind, there are a lot of resources and links in the show notes today, lowtoxlife.com/podcast. Click on Jenny's show or just Google Jenny Smith Low Tox Life podcast and it'll come straight up. I want you to know that they're there in case you might start joining some dots with your own health and need some additional support tools, basic knowledge, helpful tips, where to from here. So all of that will be in the show notes. Number two, there are some really extreme measures Jenny has had to take for her own health. And what we seem to know almost for sure is that there's a certain genetic profile that doesn't recognize mycotoxins that mold spores produce as toxins, safely removing them, binding them, pooping them out. And that can cause a multi-system inflammatory response, which the term CIRS has been coined for, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. A syndrome is a collection of symptoms that don't necessarily have a diagnosis. And that can also mean in this context that different environmental factors can have played into why you have a chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So you might know ticks, Lyme disease can produce a CIRS-like illness. And we know, of course, as well, some people are extremely sensitive to EMFs, big agriculture chemicals. Now, with that means you will hear some things that Jenny has had to do, and a lot of them I resonated with as well. So please don't be triggered, overwhelmed, or think that you're going to now need to go to the ends of the earth and completely uproot your life if you think you might have a mold problem. The vast majority of mold problems can be solved with the right kind of professional support. It is not a subject that you're going to learn and fully know how to deal with it. But I felt it was really important to share that information with you. If you are really stuck and you've no idea how to move forward, or you've been told 5 billion different things, you don't know which way to go, it's almost become a concierge service. A, because I've spoken to this many professionals in the space now. B, because I've been through it myself and spoken with so many people who've had results doing different things. I really love using my health coaching skills in this capacity. So I've put the details for that in the show notes. And please do start following Jenny at Mould Consultancy on Instagram or TikTok, because she shares so much on there that's going to help you. There are so many tips in this show, as well as on Jenny's socials, my socials. There's a lot of help and support here. Enjoy these partner offers and then we'll jump into the show. Something our OG human bodies have definitely not evolved to deal with and filter is all of the toxins that you find in modern drinking water. The bacteria, fungi, viruses have always existed in water as a possible danger, but now we also have to deal with modern man-made chemicals, chlorine that's added in, fluoride that's added in, plastics, nanoplastics, microplastics, PFAS, forever chemicals. That's a lot. So just like those dehumidifiers and air purifiers, my trio of things that we need in the modern life, waterscoaustralia.com.au are brilliant. Their smallest, most basic water filter still has 7 stages of water filtration and a remineralization step for your trace minerals. So that's pretty powerful, but the biggest one, we have it, the Bio 1000 benchtop water filter, has 15 stages of filtration. And so everything you choose in the range is a great idea. And then it's up to you what you have the budget for, what you have the space for. If you choose the subscription model, which auto subscribes you to discounted refills ongoing, and you can cancel that anytime, I highly recommend the brand. 40 years of Korean water technology research in filtration behind it, always improving every day, every year. waterscoaustralia.com.au. There are a lot of things that we can think we need when it comes to reducing our environmental toxin exposures and improving the health of our homes. 2 things that I genuinely believe move the needle massively are dehumidifiers and air purifiers. Just like us needing walking and sunshine and water, our homes need care as well, and dehumidification, especially once you know through getting a climate gauge, and that's the easiest thing. That's like a $20 spend to pop one in a couple of different areas of your home. If you see that those are over 60% humidity regularly, this is why we end up with those moldy clothes and bags and shoes in the back of a cupboard in the shady bedroom of the house. So if you haven't invested in a dehumidifier, please go check out ozclimate.com.au. If you're an Aussie, if you're overseas, there will no doubt be a great dehumidifier brand in your part of the world. But I do know you can get OzClimate in Australia and New Zealand, and you have 10% off with the code LowToxLife, and that often works on top of sale prices. And if you have any questions on the Instagram feed at LowToxLife, if you scroll down a little bit on the main feed, you'll see a huge stack of tiles that have a white background with the parts 1 through 10. And that is a whole suite of dehumidifying how-tos, why-tos, when-tos, what-tos to help you feel more literate, know what you should get and when you should use it. Hey, Jenny, how you doing?
Great, thanks, Alex.
I am so excited for this conversation. You've been one of my I've been like a silent groupie of yours over the years as a woman who's trodden this path, not only professionally, but personally. And I want to start there because anyone who's been affected by mold in the gravest of senses, where it really strips you of all the health you didn't realize was so important until it's completely gone almost. There's a certain journey and a story behind that person. And I think it's going to be really powerful for you to share yours. Talk us through it. What happened for you?
Well, around about 2012/14, through that period, I started to get unwell. Falling asleep, massive fatigue, all types of things. I'm a tradesperson, as you know. I'm a 45-year veteran in HVAC, which is heating, ventilation and air conditioning. I'm actually Australia's first female refrigeration mechanic for the federal government. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I run my own businesses. I have acreage, and back then I had loads of animals and the menagerie that just shows up. I jog 5Ks every morning at 5 a.m. I cook at a friend's restaurant. That's where I jog to. And then I jog home, have a shower, and then I go roller skating for about 12 kilometres, super fit. And then, believe it or not, at night I do a 40-kilometre road cycle. So super, super fit. And I just started to feel that there was an anchor in my life stopping me from achieving things. And it slowly progressed into I woke up on the top of a high-rise building asleep like a cat crawled on the top of a building, and I was very lucky because I didn't have a trapeze on, and I don't remember lying down. I remember going up there to check a tower, and another time I fell asleep on a similar type rooftop in the city, which I was in clear view of people who would have looked and thought that was an odd place for someone to sleep. I started to see doctors and just no answers. And then because I'm part of the ERA board for Women in ERA, which is the body that governs the refrigeration, air conditioning engineers group, we decided, since I was part of the Darwin chapter, to fly up Dr. Tim Law to talk about mould in buildings. And he came up to talk about this sick building syndrome, and I was asleep because I suffer from fatigue and apparently fell asleep everywhere. And he started to talk about the effects of what happens to people who suffer from sick building syndrome. And the guy behind me punched me in the back, and I virtually fell on the floor, woke up, and then commandeered the entire lecture. It was all about me. Had to be about me, because he talked about this VCS test you could do, visual contrast sensitivity test. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I found someone who might actually know what's wrong with me. So I went and did this test, and I failed it beautifully. And it said you've got mould, and I just couldn't find anyone to help me. And I am one of early Gupta people, and Anjana, the doctors. And eventually I started to go on the protocol and get better. I even brought, and I will underline this, I've spent at that point $500,000 trying to get better.
Yeah.
I was very successful and was a saver, not a spender. So when my health started to fail, and they said, you need to live near the sea. Oh, well, I'll just buy an apartment there near the sea, and we'll renovate it. And it was concrete, and it met all the things. And a long story short, I finally found a doctor to treat me. I thought 13 GPs have been gaslit. We've all had that.
Yeah.
I got the menopause. I love that. I was 48 and I decided I would be the fittest I'd ever been when I hit 50 for my 50th birthday. And I just kept getting told, women of your age, have you seen what you do? You should slow down. You could perhaps not go jogging in the morning or riding at night, and these things. And it progressed to the point where I was falling asleep at traffic lights with my foot on the brake.
Jenny.
So I brought a new van so I could sleep in the back of it. If that happened, I just pull over and have a nana nap, which is very hard in Darwin when it's 40 degrees outside and you can cook in 5 minutes flat.
Do you know, it's so funny the things that we create as workarounds when we're really sick. So many people are counting on you as well. There's that aspect too in your professional work. Yeah.
Speaking of people who count on you, I used to look at my boys and I'd visit them on the site and dole out the work, and I'd turn up and I'd look at them, and they all started to realise that I had no cognitive grab for what I needed to grab. I'd look at them and I'd go, oh, I'd just give up and go, whatever your name is, you're doing this and this, and you're doing that, and you're helping him and getting parts, right? And they would fill in for me. They'd say, it's Shane. I go, oh, Shane. You know, I used to hate it. Can't even remember a guy who's worked for me for 2 decades. There's so many things I couldn't remember. That moment where you go to the fridge to get something, except I'd go to Woolworths and come out with nothing.
Yeah.
Drive back home and then go, that's right, I needed to go get, you know. It was terrible. It really was. On top of that, I had very severe glove and stocking neuropathy from the elbows and the knees downwards, so I couldn't feel my feet and I walked like Pinocchio. It was really difficult because I hated it. I had to learn to walk again at one stage because I just physically couldn't lift. I couldn't make my feet lift high enough without looking like I was marching. So eventually I did see Gupta, and he put me on I remember my friend saying, I'm going to do this diet thing with you. And then she looked at Gupta's notes and said, you're on your own.
You're on your own.
I think I had avocado, tomato, boiled eggs, everything organic, of course. Try getting organic in Darwin. That's not a word. It is now, but not then. Grain-fed beef, grass-fed, and boiled chicken. It was a very miserable life. But I did do that, and I got on CSM and obviously got better.
And that's cholestyramine for the people who aren't aware of that, a binder that's one of the options. Yeah.
And I was on so much CSM and trying to get so much better because obviously I had heavy metals toxicity as well that I ended up having to have a fecal transplant because I destroyed my gut biome. So eventually I do get better, and I've brought a couple of places and set up tiny homes and tried to do this and tried to do that. And I admit, and this is probably a very controversial thing to say, but I was almost suicidal because I couldn't believe that my health had been stolen from me when I was trying to be the fittest I'd ever been. And the sad thing is I was so fit. And my father one day said to me, when you finish licking your wounds and being sorry for yourself, what is it you need? And I said, I need to live in a bubble because I can't get better in a well full of mold. And he said, your career was phenomenal. You custom designed stuff for NASA, CSIRO. If anyone could build a bubble to live in, it's you. And I thought, challenge accepted. By the way, I'm in a
Yeah,
bubble.
I'm about to ask you about that, but let's keep going with the
Yeah,
story.
we're going to keep going. So, as I mentioned before, I've had an incredible career, and part of that career is what led me to realize that I actually had the power. I was just so depleted and so down, and I kept looking for the answers outward, as most people do, and so they should now, because, like I said, I was very early in the SIRS journey. So I obviously have SIRS, and I've worked in the construction industry. As we discussed before, I am the secretary of the ASBB.
And let me just unpack those two acronyms for people who don't know. So SIRS is chronic inflammatory response syndrome. It's a collection of many, many symptoms that happen when there's a full-blown systemic body inflammation that affects many systems. And the college that you're the secretary of is the Australian College of Environmental Scientists. No, the Australasian Association of Building Biologists.
No, Society of Building Biology.
Damn, I knew I'd
But
get
yes,
it
you were
wrong.
right there. You were
Yeah,
right there.
so close.
And because I'd been in construction, project managed massive building, there's a Parliament House here that I worked on with hundreds of workers, and I used to do quite a lot of remote work on Indigenous lands, project managing everybody. And I'm also, being a Fridgie, my trade back in the good old days, we learnt all trades. I can weld, I can plumb, there's nothing, in fact, I can't do. Not that well nowadays with modern stuff, but I can do all the old stuff. So, on top of that, at the time I got sick, I had just won the United Nations top 100 women in the world in my field.
Wow, Jenny.
And I couldn't even go for the award. It was in 2019. COVID had just hit and I was in Launceston. So I was too sick to jump the gap and receive that award, but I do have it here somewhere. So I decided to take all those things and work out what I needed and what I could do. So I built myself. This was Mark III, by the way, the glass house. But in the end, I built a glass house. And yes, at the end of the day, it's just a Chinese glass house. That was part of the getting cheap. And then I filled it with every type of machine I needed to control every facet of this machine, of this environment. So I control every bit of this air. It's under massive disinfection and ionization by bipolar ionization from America. It's got CO2 control that cuts in and out. By the way, all of this is turned off for this interview so you don't have the white noise.
We appreciate that.
The white noise that gives me so much comfort when I go to sleep. Obviously, Anova air purifiers, because they truly are, I think, the best. It runs a dehum automatically with power restart. Everything here is backed up by genset. And yeah, there's so many gizmos here. Air conditioning, obviously, and all of it can be operated by my phone and viewed anywhere in the world. So I decided to control this space and I started to make improvements. And I'm fine outside, like most of us SIRS people. When I say outside, outside here is beautiful bushland and fabulous. It's when we come into man-made populated areas where ventilation, circulation, smells, VOCs, which is volatile organic compounds, you got me explaining all the acronyms,
Yeah.
come into play, that people like myself get sick. But then I also became a mould assessor through the ACES College, and I was already an indoor air quality specialist. So I really just took all of that. And the reason I made all these machines and MacGyvered them is because no machine would do what I wanted it to do. And I was getting sidetracked with people going, oh, look, if you made one of those that does what you're making it do, you could make 1 trillion. It's like, I just wanted to get better. I still have people come and go, if you were to patent that, like, well, that's a whole money-making kind of episode. That wasn't what I started to do this. I want that just to do that so that I can turn around and do other things and come home. So this space is my healing space. And this is what I then went on to make a few more of these for various clients who came to me. And then Mould Consultancy was born. I went from being I have a business called About Air Conditioning, which I'm kind of weaning myself from because I am very much in the mould consultancy side of things, where my love and passion is. There's not much for me to learn from air conditioning, and that's not a point of arrogance, it's a point of application. That I really have been on the forefront of my trade as an industrial mechanic, working on incredible things. Like I said, I worked at the Wade Institute, and the clients are NASA and CSIRO, and they have scientists there that imagine things like working on the cool rooms that held the samples from the moon dust, which they're trying to grow to see if there's any organic material on them. Yeah, sure, I never got to go in the cool rooms or anything, but hey, I helped operate the glycol system that ran it and designed it. So these are the fun things I did in my early years, and you can see why doing something like this, why my father was kind of going, just do it.
What a clever guy to ask that question at that point. And he knew how to wake you up to something new, didn't he?
Yeah, because I was waiting for someone to come along and heal me, and for someone to have the answers. And I realise now that even today, so many of the answers, no one's got them. We're making it up as we go, and some of us are making it up by testing and going, eliminating, that didn't work, I'll try this.
Yeah.
And that's where I fit into this space. I am very much you want something, I will try and make it happen, and it might take me 3 or 4 attempts, maybe more. I can only know what you tell me, so you need to tell me everything, absolutely everything. But I'm a very lateral thinker, so my specialty is moisture, humidity, temperature, dew points, how many grams of moisture in a kilogram of air, things like that. That's all that matters to me, because if I can remove the moisture to 55 and below, I've got a good chance of, even if you have mould, it's now inert because it doesn't have enough moisture to proceed, in layman's terms.
Yeah.
And if I can't do that, then having the best air purifier is not going to do anything. It's suck in all of the mycotoxins and spores and hold them or not, depending on what brand you've got and how you run it and whether you maintain it. So it was really important for me to create systems where you have to go to work, but you've got a mouldy car. How do you get to work in a mouldy car and home again without getting mould on you? And I come up with those processes for people.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever seen someone driving to work in a partial suit, and they get out of their car and they're putting their shoes in clip lock bags and going to the boot and doing this weird process? I made that. Yeah, so making people survive, because not everybody has the money that I had back then.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I sort of have experienced it in 3 waves myself. 4, actually. 4 major ones anyway, and then a few that we were just like, nope, U-turn, we're not moving there. And so I didn't have to actually go through with it. But first time, I had all the money to do all the testing when I was getting none of the answers. Second time, bit more budget conscious, bit more, and then third, fourth time, literally had to bootstrap my way through it. And in fact, I almost wonder whether they were the most valuable learning experiences of them all, because when you got nothing and you still can find a resourcefulness from within yourself and from what you can access in more creative ways, I refuse to believe that we can't have a more inclusive set of solutions where anyone can get better with whatever budget they've got. And yeah, I don't want you looking behind Jenny right now if you're looking at this on YouTube and thinking, oh, I'm never going to be well unless I go to the extent that Jenny's gone, because I'm pretty sure from having followed you for a while now, Jenny, you've worked with all sorts of different people where there have been a whole gamut of solutions and people have felt fantastic. So
yeah,
that's really important to remember.
Yeah, like people talk about, one of the other things that gets often missed is, when we talk moisture, is water. You shower in it and you drink it, you use it in your cooking. And on one of my things, I show you how to make under $200 a filtration system, a dual filtration system, to remove as much mould, sediment and stuff out of your water. And that's there because if you're going for a basic filter system, you could be looking at $3,000 to $5,000. You can do one with Bunnings parts for $200, assuming you're not a tenant. And even then, we've come up with versions for tenants, and at least come up with versions for the shower head, so that at least you're showering with your eyes open and your mouth and doing your teeth underwater. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And things like that. So yes, you're dead right. You don't need $1 million to do it. I think the most expensive thing well, the two most expensive things in this is the testing. The testing is extremely expensive to get processed. And without those tests, I mean, I do ATP testing, which I'm sure
What is ATP for everybody else, though?
It's basically a swab. It's a swab that we use in real time that measures organics. And organics can be bacteria or mold or skin cells and things like that, but essentially it measures organics. So obviously if you used it on a toilet seat, you'd probably go, oh, that's probably bacteria. If you did it on the side of a cabinet in a bedroom that you could see other mold, the chances are it would be mold. And then what that does is that's like $20. So what that does is say, oh, look, that wasn't so bad. We won't worry about that. This was terrible. Let's take a proper swab or a tape sample of that. So it kind of allows us to hone in on something. So I use it a lot in air conditioning. And I also use the same ATP to test water, because they sell a swab that can actually test water. So I think I'm only mentioning that because some of the ways that people do get sick is actually from tank water or poor roof maintenance or gutters or sitting water. Not everybody's on town water, albeit that not all town water's that good anyway. But most certainly you can make yourself a filter quite cheaply and put it in the system somewhere. And if you are a tenant, you can even remove it. But sometimes you can even get a good plumber to install it if you've made it. There are some people out there who do work well with what you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I can feel the person who knows nothing other than the fact that they've maybe got some bubbling paint and, oh, the next Low Talks Live show has a mold lady on there, so I should listen to that. If you're falling on this as your very first listen, let's just remember that in the show notes, lowtalkslife.com/podcast, and you click on Jenny's show, we have a whole bunch of resources, both from Jenny, from Nicole Bilsma, who's been on the show, that Jenny has worked with for years, from myself, the really lived experience stuff that I've learnt from all these incredible people over the years. Do not panic in this place. Take anything you want to on board, and maybe even stop listening now if it's too much. Come back once you know a bit more about the subject. And I just say that because I know how scary it can be when you feel like you're going from 0 to 100 in a tricky, really tricky subject that can be quickly overwhelming, right?
What I will tell people that if they believe they've got mold, and a lot of people kind of have an inkling, oh, it's in this room, or if you can find one room in a house, and I'm not suggesting with 6 kids and all of that, I'm saying if you can find 1 or 2 rooms in the house that no one really reacts to, they're the rooms that I would encourage people to do a deep clean. By deep clean, I mean single-use microfiber. And when I say single, I mean, yes, you use it and throw it out. You don't put it in the washing machine. You don't go, I'm going to keep this to clean the car. Single-use in the bin. Use dishwashing liquid and water. You're not wetting things. You're damp wiping. And then you're using a dry microfiber, and you're going to do your windows, you're going to do your window sills, you're going to gently wipe your walls, and you methodically, and it's going to take you time, and you're going to clear that room, and then you're going to get a HEPA vacuum. They're cheap. When I say cheap, you can get a good one under $300, a Miele, I say Miele, but Miele. As long as it's got the HEPA vacuum and it's bagged. It must be bagged, and the bag actually says 99.99 catchment. And I've tested them with my particle counters. And you can do the vacuuming with that, knowing that what you're catching in there isn't coming out the exhaust. And you can deep clean that room, and then you go, okay, what about my mattress? Well, go and buy from Spotlight the cheapest full encapsulation for dust mite. About $45 you can get one for a double or queen. Get that, fight the bed, get that on, zip it up, leave it on. Do the same thing, replace your pillows, they're cheap. You can get 2 for $10 from Kmart. Preferably encapsulate them, they're $10 from Spotlight again. Now you've got a bed to sleep on. Hopefully you've cleaned the frame with the same method as before, vacuuming and wiping and stuff. A simple test, and then stay there the night. If you can get a good air purifier, and I know you like Winix, but you have a Nova. I did watch one of your podcasts.
Yeah, I've got both.
I'm in a Nova. I swear by them. I've tested them with particle counters, the entire range. And get an air purifier and run it 24/7. The amount of people who say, yeah, we turn it off at night. You're in there at night. That's
when you need
it down. Turn it down.
Yeah,
Turn
most
it away
of them
from
have a
you.
little night function, or the one setting with the Anovas. I know the Winixes have the little moon symbol, so it's still working. It's just dialed down on the white noise.
That's
which
right.
I mean, I'm like you. I actually really love white noise for sleep.
That's the sound of safety for me.
Oh, me too.
But for this, so we turn a bedroom into the safest place we can, and then once you've got one bedroom safe, and even if you are all kind of sharing a bed for a week while you get the next room done, and I'm saying these are rooms that you're not finding massive amounts of mold in. What you're doing is you're doing a deep clean, and then next week you'll do another deep clean, maybe not as extensive, but you're going to start to clean. Cleaning is your best friend. Microfiber is your new best friend, and try and keep at least where you sleep, where your mouth falls slightly ajar, and this is your recovery time. Make that your safety space. You don't, if you've got a dog, maybe don't let the dog in. If you've got kids that aren't in the bedroom and their bedrooms are safe, then ask them, don't come charging into mum's bedroom. Keep the Anova or whatever you've got running 24/7. And back to this, don't open your windows unless your windows, your fly screens, your security screens are clean. Because fresh air doesn't exist anymore. It's called outside air. And outside air can sometimes be moist, humid, contaminated. Near golf courses, Cole's covered this extensively, that subject of what outside air really is. So what's important to do, if again, very cheap thing you can get, is go get yourself a hygrometer. And what a hygrometer is it shows humidity and temperature.
I've got one just up there. Can you see it just poking above the...
Oh, yes. And it doesn't matter if it's cheapy. The point is, even if you have 4 cheapies and you put one outside somewhere where you can look at it from the inside, and you've got one inside, one in the kitchen, one in the lounge, it doesn't matter if they're cheap. If they're all cheap and they're same brand and they're all a little off and not perfect, if I was to put my MMS3 up against them, which is a moisture meter, but the point is that they'll all be inaccurate at roughly the same rate. And you look outside, and if whatever the humidity outside is, anything over 60, I'd say try not to open your windows for 60% and over. But if you're inside, if it's higher than outside, that's the time you can open your windows. If the windows are clean and the screens are clean, you don't, if it's 40% or 50% outside and it's 70 inside, open your windows, flush the air out. But they're little things that people can do that I cover extensively on my blogs, on my Instagram and Facebook.
There's so much information there. Honestly, people can spend hours just learning this stuff. Just pick one thing and forget everything else for now. But I want to just seal off at least one little component here, Jenny, which is, sorry, seal off's a bit of a pun, isn't it, in this line of work?
Yeah.
Is the fly screens. Can we just get a quick tutorial? I'm going to pop the link to the reel that you did on this as well in the show notes, but can you just give us the lowdown, and how often should we be doing this?
Well, basically, if you go out there and I tell people, a torch held side on to a wall, not virtually at it, a torch or a UV torch, you can get a $20 UV torch from Bunnings. If you have a look with a UV torch and it lights up, then it is covered in organic matter, and the chances are that organic matter is actually mold, not bacteria, being a window. And you just need to go out there with a hose, obviously with the window shut, go out there with a hose and a banister brush, some dishwashing liquid, and wash it and clean it. It hasn't got to be perfect, but you opening it up to a complete trillion mold spores of acidiospores and acaspores and just
on
normal
your beautiful
mold
new couch in the living room
coming into your bedroom, which is meant to be your safety zone. That's why I say when people go, I can't afford to do all that, you can afford to make one room clean, even without the air purifier, even if you just go and get a cheap one.
2 questions here. Number 1 is, you're in an apartment, we're on the 3rd floor, for example.
I knew you were going to go there.
Are we allowed to just clean from the inside as well,
Yes,
or
yes,
remove the screen? Like I'm thinking we remove it and chuck it on the balcony and give it a good clean out
yes.
there.
A lot of them have those tabs on them where you can
Yeah,
pull them up. I got to admit, anytime I've done that, I've actually dropped them and they've gone and
that
destroyed
did
at the
happen
bottom.
when my husband did that once. Yes.
Yeah, because they never come out. Therefore, they're
Mm.
jammed in there with dirt
Yeah,
and
yeah.
muck and everything. But if you can't get them out and you want to try and gently wash them in place, put a towel down and give them a clean and do the best you can. Just do the
Mm-hmm.
best you can. All I'm saying is any improvement is an improvement, but you don't want to just open windows because people go, oh, you need to ventilate. Yeah, that
Yeah,
needs to
fresh
be
air is a bit of a
quantified.
con. It's like a fresh air. Yeah, it depends. I always
We,
say, is it raining? Is your fly screen dirty? There's just so many different things, not to scare people, but just to really think. If it's
I,
wetter outside than it is inside, how is fresh air the right choice right now? Mm,
That's true. And one of the things about air purification, this is one of the reasons I do support Inova,
mm,
E8s and up, because the E7 doesn't have carbon necessarily, is that an air purifier is capable of what we call in HVAC, heating and ventilation terms, it can do makeup air. So one of the reasons you have to bring fresh air in is that we expire CO2
of
and we need
course.
to not have CO2 build up, which was part of COVID, no more than 600 parts per million. Fine. But what we did do is we brought in air purification, and because carbon capture, good carbon capture, it will hold contaminants, and therefore that air is considered clean air. Its actual term is called makeup air. So when in HVAC and aero magazines talk about you have to have X amount of litres per person per makeup air comes into that, and that's why people say to me, "Oh yeah, I opened up my window and left my Inova running." I'm like, "Turn it off," and they're going,
Mm,
"But don't I need to open the window because I've had this running for like all week?" And I go, well, yes and no.
mm.
Not if the room is X big and occupied by just you and your partner or you and a child. If there's six of you living in there, yes. But if it's the right space for the right amount of breathing and people and humidity coming off the human body, then yes, a correctly sized and proper carbon capture air purifier is doing makeup air. It's cleaning that air, and somewhere like here, that this place stays permanently closed. The
Mm.
only air coming in here is through a HEPA filter up there, and when the exhaust fans come on, they create a suction through. So the only other air that comes in here is when I open the door,
Mm,
which is quickly in out. I don't leave it open very long.
mm.
So this place is pure makeup air, and to give you an example, this is running at 28 degrees, and before I turned everything off, 41% humidity
Love that for you.
permanently.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
perfect.
so it's I guess as you said, just trying to find simple things and procedures and processes for people to start the safety journey. What do I do, my baby? Blah blah blah. And I go, hey, let's make one room safe. Get
And
yourself
so
that UV torch.
on that, can you just take us through how do we do the ceiling? Because we talked about all the other
Oh, that's a ripper.
parts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go to Bunnings, they do sell those extension arms, and it's like a
Mm,
Swiffer cloth. It's a Swiffer cloth that's technically it is a microfiber. It's on a
yeah.
pole. It's flat. It's like a flat floor mop.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
actually is a
Well,
floor
I
mop.
did a
I
lot of
tell
swearing the day I used one of those to do our ceilings because
no.
you lose control of it and then your back starts hurting. It's
Well,
like,
the
aha.
good thing is microfiber is only $8 a bag at the moment
Mm,
at Bunnings, and if you get yourself a couple of ball clamps and you use microfiber. So you keep the original Chucksy cloth thing that's on it, you put the microfiber on it, you bull clamp it, you do your gentle, you're not wet, moist, damp wipe
mm-hmm.
for a
And the
bit, and then you
detergent
go,
so that it's a bit sticky and it grabs things,
no,
right?
no, that's the
Okay.
microfiber's job. The detergent breaks down the
Mm,
biofilm that is wrapped around most molds, okay?
nice.
And that's
Okay.
the other thing is people need to realize if you have dust, you have mold.
Mm,
Okay, now don't confuse dust and particulate because you can have just natural fibre from clothing and a lot of the products we have. But if you actually have dust, and we all know what dust is, it's the stuff that settles on the things that we insist on owning. It's
mm.
the other thing about being an assertive person, you become a minimalist.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
If you have dust, the chances are you have mold in that dust because that helps mold travel.
Mm-hmm.
And that mold creates a biofilm, and that's what the dish detergent is cutting through.
Mm-hmm.
And the microfiber is what grabs it, and that's why we say they're single use, because it's stuck in there. So if you've got
Yeah.
1 trillion in there and you think, I'm just going to wash this so I can use this later, that's 1 trillion going through your washing machine. You don't need too many to stick to the washing machine barrel to rejoin your other clothes at a later date.
Yeah.
That's why they're single-use turfum.
And this is one of the things that I love that actually Andy Pace from the Green Design Centre over in the States, I don't know if you know his work, Jenny, but you guys get along famously. And he helps people realise if you are unwell or if you are trying to maintain a healthy environment, we have to remember that what the right environmental choice is for that particular situation and point in time is the human who is well, who can live a functioning, productive life that will have infinitely more benefits than a few microfiber cloths in the landfill. And it's just about these weigh-ups that situationally now is not the time to feel like you're an awful person because you feel awful. And the number one job here is to get you not feeling that way so that you can get out there and do great work. And that great work, if you do care about the environment, can be really fabulous and impactful, far beyond saving a few cloths and reusing them. And I just think we have to remember that there are different choices we have to make at different points in our lives, depending on the situation.
Yep, no, totally agree with you. And some of this, the saddest thing about so much of what our houses are is they get built. My first call this morning was a woman who's in a brand new home, and the brand new home is just alive with mould. And it doesn't appear it was built that way. It appears it's ended up that way because she's a renter. She went to a brand new home believing that she could get well. She inspected it, seemed fine, but she's found the roof is quite mouldy on the southern side, and it's gone into the gutters, and they're really mouldy, and it's made all the south side of the house, her windowsills and her bedrooms on the south side, and she's just found all these housing defects. But like I said, she's not well enough to do this, but you almost need to get someone up on the roof to literally same type of washing detergent, as long as it's not on a septic, detergent and a brush, and just clean that roof off. It will come up beautifully, and clean those gutters and clean from the roof down. And I think I have one in my Instagram there where I said to someone, look, do as much as you clean the inside of a house, you need to do an annual spring clean on the outside of the house, which goes back to the fly screens and the windows and the brickwork and the sills and the paving around. If you're walking on black paving and then you're coming into your house with your shoes, you just brought all that mould in. It's probably only cladosporium, but none of these moulds are good inside. They're fine outside.
They're part of natural
because they
ecology.
live in nature in a perfect balance. There's no balance inside our house because there's nothing to take them on except another mould.
Well, we've created an artifice, and then when it's artificial, it's now just a competition, basically.
Yep. Who gets there first? So yeah, it's and the other thing that I keep telling people, I mean, my number one, I think Cole also talks about this, is exhaust fans. Oh, that's the other thing with this woman's house. So we measured the moisture. This is on a consult online. She had a hygrometer, and I said, well, just go measure it. And she was all embarrassed that it was a cheap one. I said, don't care. It's going to be cheap all over the house.
Oh, God,
That's
the
all
ones
I need
I've
to
got
see.
are all cheap. Absolutely.
And she measured the house. She had just shy of 80% humidity. And this is because, and I said to her, have you got a torch? She shone the torch through the exhaust fan when it was off. And I said to her, I'm looking at the roof tiles. She did not vent atmosphere. It's a 2-year-old house. I mean, we all know under the NCC building code, that's a huge no-no, has been since 2010. So, someone's just done some pretty shite work. So someone else lived there for the 2 years prior to her. She's only just moved in there. So someone's been showering in there. And the ensuite didn't even have an exhaust fan. And I just said to her, she goes, we won't use that. And I thought, well, that's all I can come up with. Don't use it. And you need to talk to the agent about getting a proper exhaust fan under the NCC building code, 150 litres per second. You want the hair to stand up on your head while you're having a shower to get this moisture out of there. You want it to run for a good 15 minutes afterwards. And even then, you have to get up there and maintain that at least once or twice a year, depending on how many people use it, to clean that fan, just like you would any other ceiling fan. You need to clean that blade.
Do you have these kinds of deep cleaning methods in a neat little place for us, Jenny, because I think one of the things that overwhelms people is we have not designed things for NASA, and we are all just trying to make these healthy homes. Like, and upkeep them and manage kids or family or big
Yeah.
careers or
Look,
aging parents. And it's just like, oh my God, now I've got to clean my exhaust and remember to do that.
the
It's a
the
lot.
only ones you have to pay for on my website are professional cleaning of a HVAC, as in a split system,
Yeah.
or the dehums. Because if you've got a dehumidification system, I should stop shortening it. You have to clean that, because we all know mold grows in 48 hours, and
They
the
stay
filter.
moist. It's literally what
They
they do.
stay moist.
Yeah.
It's their job to get rid of moisture, but they're also growing mold while they're doing it. So you do need to clean them. They're the courses that are paid courses, and I think they're fairly priced. You've got them for life, but everything else we're talking about is on my either Instagram or Facebook somewhere.
Awesome.
There is so much stuff,
So
and we did look
much.
at deleting some of it, but then we just decided,
Oh,
no, let
please
people
don't.
comb.
Yeah, yeah.
Let people comb through it and find it. They'll work it out. You only have to watch a second and go, nah, nah. And most certainly the vacuum cleaners, most certainly everything we've spoken to tonight, particularly the exhaust fans, is there. And just, yeah, even this chat will be enough to let people know. Yeah, that's a simple thing. And if you ever want to know, everyone's racing off, go get yourself a torch and a UV light from Bunnings.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a lot. And what you do with the fan off, fire it through the grill and see. If you're looking at the tiles, like if you've got ceramic tiles on your roof, then it's not vented. It's going into your roof, all that moisture.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at silver stuff that's got like a rib through it, that could be flexible duct. Or if you're looking for stuff that looks like bubble wrap but silver, then you're still looking at the inside of the roof where it's air sealed. And if you can see any sizeration, the yellow, pink, all the bats that we shove in roofs, if you can see any of that, you can guarantee that it's not vented.
Yeah. And then it's
Simple.
going straight into your insulation and causing growth there.
Yeah. And I'm not suggesting anyone go stand on a ladder. If you're capable of doing that safely, by all means, have a little peek. But other than that, just get a torch or someone with better eyes than you and the torch and have a look.
Yeah.
And realise that after you have a shower, it really is a good $3 squeegee from Bunnings. Squeegee the shower. I always hate it. I love it when someone goes, I'll have a shower after you. It's like, great. And I say that, but by the way, I shower outside. Yeah. There's no moisture in this coming into this house.
No.
But the last person to shower, if you're having a family session of showering over a couple of hours, is the wiper down and also the microfiber.
The designated squeegeer.
Yep, you take turns. And it can actually be a chamois, like a car chamois, the last wipe down, and you wring it out and you hang it on the crossbar, and once a week you give that a good wash.
Put on the dehumidifier for a good couple of hours after our family showers. Is that a good plan?
That's great if you need that. In saying that, if you were to upsize your exhaust fan,
as a renter, that's not in our hands.
Oh, no. Okay,
so it's like I do the bit I can control.
And what I can tell you, though, I keep saying to renters, and it's very hard, they say they're running dehums with the empty process. You have to empty the tank. And I always say to them, if you can, you are best to run that to a floor drain anytime you can. Have the hose, have it in the floor drain, put something there so we don't all trip over it. But that is far better, because whenever a dehum tank reaches full, and let's just say you're lucky enough to get your house down to 55 with the dehum, but the tank's full now, the moment that stops, all that moisture is starting to be reabsorbed back into the room you took it from. So really trying to find a floor drain. When I lived in a rental, I had mine on the kitchen bench. I
was going to say, can you stick it in the bathtub if you've got one, or in the kitchen sink?
I've done that. Kitchen. I sat mine next to the coffee machine with a 1.5 metre long clear plastic tube, and it just sat there in a sink.
Yeah. A lot of people
I just didn't want to empty it.
Yeah, a lot of people who live coastally, Jenny, have talked over the years about like they've come back from a month away and their whole house was mouldy and revolting, and they had to start cleaning. And like we said right at the beginning, not everyone gets sick, and lucky them. It really is just a big cleaning job, and that's great because that's doable. But is it safe for us to leave these appliances on with a hose going to a drain for a month? Like, should we get a friend checking in every now and then?
Most of them are well protected. This is where you've got to get good brand. I'm in Darwin, so humidity has to be removed like this. It rains for 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
It is just revolting. So I got a big 50 litre sitting here in a 6 by 4 metre glass house.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
So
I
way
was
oversized.
actually just speaking to the guys from Oz Climate because last year when they discontinued their 50, I'm like, no, you don't. That's the first thing you got to bring back.
Yep.
And by the way, could you do a 60 instead?
Yep.
And they said, yep, and it's coming this November. So I was very
Yep.
excited because it's so important when you live in humid areas,
It is.
right?
One of the best things about having it piped and leaving it running is they technically have protection. Okay, the protection is if you set them correctly.
Yeah.
So you set them, you're going away and you set it for 50, and yes, it's got a band of maybe 5% either way, but it's going to cut out. If you put a dehum in there and before you leave, for the week before you leave, the thing never turns off, you either need a bigger dehum because you've undersized it, and you don't want something that runs relentlessly. Who wants to listen to that? I often have to go over there sometimes, just check, oh, okay, it's on 40, so that's why it's not running. So I think it's important to get advice. People just go past Bunnings with that big pallet load of stuff they're shoving out the door.
Yeah.
And they just grab one and they go, oh, my dehum hasn't turned off. And I go, oh, what size is it? And they go, 10 litres.
I know.
I go, where is it? It's like 10 litres. I think you put 10 litres in a small toilet and you better shut the bowl. You better shut the lid on the bowl.
Yeah.
There's nothing a 10 litre really does. Maybe, actually, I like, you know where I put 10 litres? I dehumidify my car. So my car's sitting in the carport right now with a dehum running in it, off 240 volts for anyone who's going, how did you do that? But it is a good thing if you've got power in a carport or a garage. If you're concerned about your car, it's one of the protocols I give people who are immune compromised or got SIRS to have a dehum in a container. So it's got a tray. And that tray also has a drain line, and the drain goes out the bottom of the grommets in the floor, which I show them where they are, and we poke them through, just like putting a straw in a drink. We find the hole, and we make a nice little cut, and so they don't have to empty anything. These are the things you can do if you are immune compromised and needing to know that every time you get in that car, if it has mould, and the other thing to do with the car, by the way, is to upgrade the cabin filter. You can buy carbon impregnated ones, or if you're like me, I custom make my own HEPA ones. So
of course you do. Of course you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I do teach people how to do HEPA. We just sent some what we call G4, which is only MERV 8, which is quite high because MERV 13 is the highest you can go.
That's the hospital grade MACD, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so this one up here is, believe it or not, rated at 99.999. And you might think, how's it sucking? Well, it's got a really big exhaust fan over here in this room, so the air has to come through it. So hit that, and it can evacuate this room and give me 100% outdoor air, which I could probably say is fresh air because I am living slightly rural, but I know that there won't be anything in it.
Wow.
You know?
Incredible. Almost similar to a passive house concept of giving a house lungs in that sense, right?
Yes. But for me, it was a wholly and solely safety. And I travel, I've got a motorhome out there that has half this equipment in it and a massive off-the-grid system to run me. However, if I ever turn up at your house, I'll be plugging in so I can run everything. I travel with all my gear and try and help.
It's like we've got
out.
an insight into our crazy scientist, Jenny.
No.
Just put all these incredible things in place, obviously because you want to feel fantastic and be able to help many more people than yourself. But at the same time, like to be able to learn from you and the breadth of experience you had in trades at the level you were working at, and to now be bringing that into an understanding of indoor environments for the rest of us. I mean, I know there'll probably be a ton of overwhelmed people and I'll be getting a bazillion DMs saying, why did you just do that to me? I feel so like, where do I start? I like just bring it back. You learnt a lot, and that can be a lot. And now think cleaning my exhausts in my house. That's my project. Or cleaning my fly screen. It's actually, once we just remember what we've actually talked about, none of it's complicated in isolation.
No,
it's just things to learn. You don't have to go to these extents. Maybe you do. And thank God people like Jenny exist to help you with a glass house.
and there are people who want this and have done
Mm.
very similar versions of what and taken the equipment, and I've helped them out and set it all up. And there's some of us who have to live like this for the rest of our lives because if I spend time, like I can catch a plane. I don't pull up very well. I went to Bali for the first time in a decade and a
Oh my
half.
gosh, Bali. How did you do there? I've kind of
Well,
written
from
off
here,
that part of the world.
I used to go to Bali. We used to joke we'd go there for dinner because it was a $40
Yes, so
air flight out
close.
of Darwin.
Yeah.
$40, I mean, and 20 coming back unless you had luggage. So we used to joke and say we'd go to Bali for dinner. And we'd go there on Friday night and be back Monday morning for work. And so going back there for the first time, I got so sick at the Hyatt. I paid the top dollar to stay in the top place thinking I would have some form of recourse. And they Googled me when I put in a full complaint about the fact that it was the air conditioning was so moldy I couldn't even breathe. So I
Mm.
slept. I took my P3 face mask.
Oh my God, I've done that in a hotel in Cairns.
Yeah,
I
and
kid
I
you
wore
not,
it.
I
I slept
slept
with it.
with it on overnight. I was
I
speaking at a
woke up with strap
conference.
marks
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep. I
shoulders
had
up
to
because I couldn't
lymphatically
roll.
massage my
Yeah,
face before the
it
talk.
was terrible. I don't think I could
Yeah.
ever go again. And yet, my
Mm.
friend booked the cheapest. I think it was $10 or $12 a night with breakfast in a paddy field, and I thought I'm going to die. And I went in there with my torch, and I thought, don't overdo this. You're just going to like psych yourself out. And I peeled the bed back, and I brought this brand new plastic sheet, and put it over their bed. And I brought one pillow plus
Mm.
their pillows. I encapsulated each one in a spotlight encapsulation.
Dust mite
So I
encapsulation. Yep.
sanctified the bedroom as safe. I told them no vacuum or sweeping in here because that stick vacuum goes for everyone's room. It's like no, 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 none of that. So, and I'm 2 meters away from this very foul smelling rice paddies, which were gorgeous to look at,
Mm.
and I didn't get sick there. I got sick
No.
at the Hyatt
Well, I've
because
got
of
a
the air
theory about
conditioning.
this. Yes, well, air conditioning, of course, but also I've done a couple of trips now where I've been totally fine, and the common thread has always been indoor, outdoor, natural, completely natural materials, almost like there's just this constant decomposition, rebirth. It's actually a natural cycle that's going on. So I don't feel it's the artificial component that seems to be the worst of it.
I totally agree with you. I couldn't believe the two places my friend booked that were just
Mm.
like so povo, and I was
Yeah.
dying when she told me, and I was so well there, and 2 nights at the Hyatt just about put me back
Mm.
2 years.
Mm.
I've bounced back, but I flew back into Australia and I was as weak as a kitten, and I
Mm.
was so demoralized that someone like me, the only reason I survived, I ended up pulling the furniture out and sleeping out in the garden of the Hyatt where the guards kept checking on me and I was sharing the place with squirrels,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so demoralized that someone like me couldn't even get that right. But I
Mm.
mean, the
Oh.
right bit is, and it was all the air conditioning, and it does lead me to another point because I know we're getting close to the end. Is that in my view, HVAC, and this is where my strength is. HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. We need it. It doesn't matter where you are. What there isn't a thing on this planet that doesn't require some form of refrigeration, air conditioning, ventilation, and it is either the cause or the spread.
Mm.
And it is really important for all these people who get their split air cons cleaned or they're ducted to get really good advice, because I Google it I mentioned when we were off air, to almost do a send up of some of the
Mm.
things I see, even though I shouldn't, but it makes me so annoyed that it's the only way I can kind of, if I take the piss out of it or the mickey, then people will understand that that's a wrong thing to allow to happen. It's really important when you're booking an aircon clean that they are actually going to wet wash. They are actually going to strip that unit completely apart.
Mm.
Every part that can come off it should come off it, that their guarantee is a guarantee, that they're not using essential oils or
Mm.
vinegars in your air conditioner because they do nothing except create mold to grow back quicker. All essential oils, unfortunately, they're lovely to smell.
Mm.
However, they are oily, they are food for mold, they hold mold, they're another biofilm for mold. The clove oil, the thing I keep hearing about clove oil and vinegar and so forth. But yeah, it's really important to get your aircon cleaned properly. And properly. And they do those ads where they go, look at all the dirt coming out. It's like, You should have cleaned that dirt off before you even started wet washing. You're not meant to push it through the coil. Okay. But at the end of the day, when we clean air cons, we actually will ATP test them after the fact to show you that they're 50 and below. But my clientele being SIRS and are totally immune compromised, and I can do that, but I can't tell people enough that their air conditioning, here they are, they turn their heating on for the first time for the winter, and 2/3 of the family are decimated because SIRS is 1 in 4. And if you're a family of 5, there's a chance there's 2 of you in the house that are impacted by mould. And
that reference, for anyone new, is a genetic probability of not being able to recognise mould as a baddie and remove it. Some of us just can't.
Yes.
Wow. Jenny, I have a last couple of questions that I want to focus on your home to finish. Number one is, why did you choose glass? And can you talk us through a couple of the features of the type of glass that form all the walls of your house? And second part to this question is, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, how much would that cost for me to do if I wanted to do a 2-bedroom glass house? Can you give us a bit of a window into those things?
I was probably very lucky because I was actually the NT rep for a tiny house provider. And the NT rules are different all over the States, but this is a fold-out glass house. It is double glazed. It is virtually soundproof, so tomorrow night's cracker night here, so we'll be fine. The reason glass was because I did this exact same thing up the front of my property, and it had 9 windows, but I just felt like I was sitting in a giant esky. And I realised that I was feeling quite depressed, and I wasn't happy. And I live on a beautiful rural block with kangaroos and possums, and I've got a family of 4 curlews out here that I've been so thankful that they haven't started chirping, because you would hear them. It's soundproof, but not that sound. I've got every animal. I've got resident jabberoos here. There's a crocodile in the corner over here, big 5-metre croc in the corner. I have all this beauty, and when I wanted glass because I thought, when I'm sick and I'm lying on my bed, I get to watch sunrise. I don't have curtains because curtains hold mould, and I get sunrises over here. It sets behind me. I get the most incredible sunrises through the mist. And by the way, it's cold here at the moment, everybody. It was 15 degrees this morning in Darwin. It was nice and kind of smoky and filtering through the pandanus. Just gorgeous. In other words, for my mental health, the glass was about inviting the outside in. And if I ever got that sick again, because we did talk about the fact that I was almost totally paralysed from the neck down at one stage from my neuropathy, my system just shut down. I had to learn how to walk again and how to use my arms again. So I'd always decided if I ever got that sick again, the outside is in. I might be in a tiny box of 6 metres by 4 metres, but I have acreage, and it is as good as being inside.
And do you ever worry, like, that people are looking in, that they're like lurking?
No one here.
Yeah.
There's no one here. I have a gorgeous outdoor shower, outdoor bath. I have a full stainless steel chef's kitchen out there. Underneath the thing. I also have a small kitchenette here just for simple coffees and toast and all the little things. And
so you cook outside. Do you do laundry outside as well?
Yes, laundry's out here and everything. So everything that creates moisture is outside, and very much like passive house, because but when you look at where we came from, apparently we were caveman. And we only really had fires and slept. Fire was at the mouth of the cave to keep predators away, and we slept inside. We did everything outside.
Yeah.
But then we decided we'd make a house, and how about we bring the fire in, and we bring the kitchen in, and we bring everything, the dog, everything in, bring the car in. We need the car to be underneath here. Everything in.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Everything could go wrong. Look at how many houses go wrong.
But better than that, then we said, well, I don't like seeing the plumbing. Can we hide it in the wall? Can we put cisterns in the wall? Can we get rid of all that plumbing and put it in the wall? Can we put everything in the walls?
Yeah.
Under the floor, in the roof. We don't want to see nothing. And what you can't see, you can't be pinged to go,
watching.
Oh, that needs service.
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
see it, you can't fix it, you can't service it, and there's no reminder.
I know. My cousin's an engineer. We're French on mum's side, and he's an engineer for a big French firm. And we were walking through Paris one day in an old quarter, and I noticed that all the piping is on the outside. And I'm like, no, can you talk me through? Because that's so cool. I wish all the pipes were on the outside of things. It makes so much more sense. And maybe this is why these 16th, 17th, 18th century apartment buildings are still fine and I don't feel sick
Yep.
in any of them. And he's like, yeah, anything that was considered like modern add-ons, they added them on the outside because you didn't,
Yep.
it made no sense to put things inside walls, and that would be too hard to do that work as well to an existing building. So all the piping went onto the outsides. And I'm like, how bloody brilliant is that?
And I did that with this house. All the plumbing is either underneath. This is slightly elevated off the ground, so I can access anything underneath.
Mm,
Everything's on the back wall, so totally changeable, fixable, visible, so I can go, ooh, I better give
visible.
that a clean.
Yeah.
And when we look, I live on rural acreage, and obviously if you live in metro areas, you don't really want to see everyone else's plumbing. You know what? If we did go
Yeah.
back to some of those things when we still had copper piping that didn't tend to break open unless someone nailed something through it or the building moved.
Mm,
Now everything's plastic. It's not even meant to last the length or the age of the building. Water membranes that'll last 10, 15, 20 years when the house is meant to stand for 80.
mm.
You know, I never heard anyone say when they were building a house, by the way, we're going to have to come back and pull your bathroom out in 15 years and completely redo
Yeah.
it. It's like, what the hell?
Mm,
It makes you want to rent because I don't
mm,
want to pay for that.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
totally.
just create our building methodology is out of control. The builders say it's the architects blame it, the planners. It's just crazy,
Mm,
absolutely crazy.
yeah.
Even from an air conditioning point of view, I always laugh because I know what a multi-split is. That's where you
Mm,
have several indoor head units inside a house, and the body corp turned around and said, nope, everyone can only have one outdoor unit. So there's one outdoor unit
mm,
and maybe 5 indoor units. And as soon as the outdoor stops working,
mm,
no one has anything. No
mm,
heating, no cooling, no ventilation. Don't worry about putting fans in. And that's a huge thing. I'd always say to people, have a ceiling fan, don't ever turn it off. Put
mm,
it on low. Leave it
mm,
on low. The only time you turn it off is to clean it.
mm.
And that's definitely so. That goes for the person you said who went away and came back and the place was green. Yeah, that's because there's no circulation.
Yeah. So
Have to be.
circulation would be more important than outdoor air and you get that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, always, always. And when you say outdoor air, you can actually just crack a window. The trouble
Mm,
is people leave it right open.
yeah.
Again, so on a wet day, the one day out of the 10 they went, there was this big thunderstorm and this 100% humidity came in and just stuck to the walls
Mm,
and then started a mould. And within, they almost got their whole holiday out the way. Had they not done that and just left a gap, it would have probably been okay if they had fans on.
mm-hmm.
And it's knowing what do you leave. I get a lot of those phone calls. Oh, what am I going on holidays? What do I do? It's like, well, tell me what your house sounds like. Explain it to me.
Yeah.
Put me there, and I'll tell you what I'd be doing.
And part of the problem, isn't it, that there are so many variables because we build so many different ways and we've built through so many different layers of like architectural trends and oh my gosh, like you cannot just develop a rule and a system and a protocol because it depends
Hmm.
is going to come after everything.
I think that's what makes my job so interesting. And we started this conversation with me saying that there was someone on Toxic Mould Australia site on the Facebook thing
Mm,
made a comment, and I said to you, you made a comment and
mm,
gave them good advice. And I said, oh, if that was me, I would have gone, where are you? What state? What suburb? Are you on top of a hill? Down a hill? Are you facing west, north, south?
mm.
I need so much information
So
that
much
actually,
information.
if that particular person actually wanted what I believe to be the closest possible answer to right.
Mm.
But yes, you did right. 55 to 60 while it's raining is great. But yeah, I'm sitting there going, oh, should I actually write? It's like, no.
Well, and back to one of the other things we were talking about, which is the hygrometers, these little handy
Yep,
things.
yep.
Put them in several rooms because my son's room is much more, it's probably about 10-15% more humid than other ones. So we position our big kahuna dehumidifier closer to his room so that it addresses that excess of moisture on the shadier side of the apartment. Like you got to get to know your house, just like you got to get to know your body and which parts need a bit more help based on who you are and
Well,
stuff.
It comes down to physiology as well, because babies feel cool.
Mm.
Older people do too as well. Young boys, teenagers don't.
Mm.
They also perspire more and
Mm.
can often lose more humidity or
Mm.
moisture out of their body. The dynamics across the family. And it's funny because when we design things for comfort cooling versus like a computer room or something like that, the dynamic is totally different. When we design for computer rooms, it's 50% humidity and 22.5. Boom, that's it. And then for comfort cooling, you'll go, oh no, it better be 22.5 to 24, 55%, because you don't want too many people to lose too much moisture out of their skin. But they know they're losing moisture out of their skin at 55. But we also know that if you go over 55, or Mould's just having a party, because I'll stack a Mould from 45% up to 55, that is still quite common in houses, which is why I go for 41. That allows me my 5% either way.
Yeah.
To make sure
Leeway.
there's nothing.
And so
whatever's in here.
if I wanted to build your house in a paddock, how much does that kind of cost? I know you got a
This
sweet
one-
deal, but like how much
This
would it cost the
one
average
cost me
person?
80,000 to do, and that included putting in a septic. And what you're not aware of is there's this massive roof. So there's a concrete pad. The house was put in 200-300 mils above the ground. Technically, it could be, if it didn't have a roof, be lifted up and out. And there's a massive, as we call it, the hat over the whole top. And there's a good 2 feet. It's a sloped roof.
And what's the hat made out of?
Just tin. So it's a massive. I'm also in a cyclone belt.
Fun.
A massive steel construction is over the roof of me, which allows me not to have radiant heat. It was all done with air cell and corrugation. The thunderstorms here are magnificent. The rain, volume. This all becomes a lake around me. I feel like I'm a bit of an island, but I'm up and out. The pad was out. So yeah, I took all of that information from my construction time and went, yep, well, we're not going to get wet. And I made sure the septic is up and out, the realm drains, and everything's accessible. And yeah, so essentially it's a very basic home, nothing flash. But if you have been as sick and as immune compromised as I have been and some of my clients, I have this for life. And I just want to know when I go to sleep or when I come home after a day of doing someone groveling around in mould and trying to work out what the cause was and how to fix it, that I can have an outdoor shower and essentially come in here and I'm safe.
Well, I totally understand your motivation for choosing the things that you've chosen and the house that you've chosen. Yeah, really, really interesting to get a window into some of those personal choices, but then, of course, all this amazing practical stuff you've been able to help us with. Jeannie, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
That was like, I feel like we now need three-day seminar broken up into sections, nice and deep and calm with everything you need to know. But as I said a couple of times through this, please go check out Jenny's Instagram. There's just so much there. There's such a huge body of work, and the incredible depth of knowledge that you have from decades in built structures and how they function and how to get them functioning optimally means we're all in good hands. So welcome to a massive learning journey, folks, if you've only just arrived, and thank you for the work you do.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute joy.
Sure has.
Thank you for joining us in listening to this week's show. If you're not already subscribed or following the show on whatever platform you listened, please do that now. It helps enormously in terms of getting this show out to more people. Another way you can connect and support the work we do so that we can support you in your low tox life is join us in the Low Tox Club. You'll get access to amazing member masterclasses where we invite some of our best show guests for a live Q&A with members. You also have great shopping discounts from low tox businesses and honestly, the nicest low tox community Facebook group that exists on the internet. I do hope you join us there. It costs just the price of a coffee a month on average. Head to lowtoxlife.com, hit the Explore tab, and Low Tox Club is the first option there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.